Exception, Blacklisted podcast.
Even in regards to like, one thing I think that people get in a lot of trouble with in the coaching realm is not reaching outside of their expertise. Did I say that right? Or reaching...
They're too afraid to reach outside their expertise and not admit they are a failure in certain aspects, but I'm using failure as like a positive word here. Mm-hmm. Using failure as a positive word, using failure as an aspect for the growth that's needed for what they're advocating. Mm-hmm. Like, that's why we're being the exception for development.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I don't want to stray too much from how we define developing an athlete in a sense. But
right.
Go ahead from there.
Yeah, I mean, and I think one thing that we're doing a pretty good job of right now as well is like Blacklisted is obviously like you're kind of like shunned from the normalcy of things, right? And like I would say, as a company in whole, we just don't align with like traditional, like the traditional fitness regime, if that makes sense.
Makes 100% sense.
We're not like the popular kids. We're not the cool kids. Like, we can hang out with them, but we're like, honestly, I don't give a flying fuck about being popular or the cool kid or whatever. And so what we're able to do with that, I think, is find all of the individuals who are really fucking good at what they do, like you, for example, and we're able to kind of like help bring them into our community, and then they're able to use their expertise and help develop athletes in a specific regard. So like for you, for instance, it's doing a great job of helping people in the water, but then we also have you have this swim program going on that helps them develop their gymnastics efficiencies and capacities. And so like no one else in the space is doing that right now. No one else in the space understands that. And spoiler alert, Dan's very connected at KSU, and we're going to start doing research on this to back it up, as research always follows the practice. But like, we're out at Pete's place right now, Hybrid Sport and Spine. He'll be on a podcast later on down the road, but like, we reach out to a bunch of different healers. We have Lauren on board as well with Repair, Perform, Recover. Like, so like, and both those individuals are great at understanding how the body moves, fixing how the body is like moving inefficiently,
and they fit a similar mission as like with what we're advocating as well.
Right.
Very similar personalities in that sense.
Right, and like they're not necessarily a part of the cool kids crowd. Mm-hmm. Maybe like now, or
they are cool though.
They are very cool. Yeah, right. And so like, I think what happens with a lot of times is these companies scale up too much, and then they end up not being able to deliver a good product to the people. It's kind of just like a mix mash of whatever has worked in the past for people, and they just throw it at them. And so we're actually able to kind of come in and just dissect and like intricately program for individuals, or help them out, or give them direction in areas that they need, and ask each other questions, etc. Because we do have different kind of like backgrounds and experiences among, honestly, all of us.
Yeah, that's the super cool part too. Is like you said something earlier about like specialties, excelling in specialties, and that to me is a magnificent catalyst. Like to be the exception piece. Yeah. And like in order to develop, you have to obviously you hone in your specialty. Mm-hmm. Then you have supports with that in combination. Then you bring the support to your specialty. Then you're comfortable to maintain your specialty and grow upon that in a positive lens. Blacklisted, negative connotation. Be the exception, positive connotation. In our minds, we all view, in my perception, we all view Blacklisted as a positive thing, because we are shunned from society, just like not in the popular crowd or whatnot. So collectively, a perceived societal negative with a perceived societal positive, and in our lens, it's a positive and a positive. We're gonna work together, and that development piece is not just gonna be limited to the athlete, but to the entire industry, but the athlete's going to benefit the most.
Yeah. So it's almost like a yin and a yin instead of a yin and a yang.
Really, yeah. I mean,
but one looks like a yang.
Yeah, it's a fun game, honestly. Like, not yin yang specifically. Like, I don't know how that would be a game, but like the getting people to, I don't know, accept that there kind of can be a yin and a yang.
Yeah.
because like
we are not high right now.
Honestly, not. This is just normal conversation. Holy shit! But I think that's an awesome thing you just said though, with the yin and the yang. Like it's the first time I've ever heard it.
Yeah.
Clearly, it's not a popular thing to say because I guess I won't say we have a lot of unpopular opinions because we don't really have opinions entirely that we speak on. It's usually backed with something.
Yeah, but I would say that our opinions. I would say that our opinions are industry leading opinions, and then everybody else kind of comes in and fills in the back area. And I honestly think that's why we're like not necessarily a part of the cool crowd, is because we're ahead of the cool crowd and we're putting out the ideas ahead of time, and then they're coming back in and like making it look fancy and all this shit. That
there's a reason why nowadays most conspiracy theorists aren't labeled conspiracy
yeah,
theorists.
right. right.
Like, oh, I guess that was accurate.
Yeah.
But can you just say opinion one more time?
Opinion?
Nice.
How do you say it?
Opinion.
Tristan, how do you say it?
Opinion.
That's 2-1.
2-1.
Oh shit. Alright, well.
That's fantastic.
Minnesota background.
Oh, that's fun. I've always liked it, for what it's worth. It's always been turned on. But, so, okay, getting into the nitty gritty still of, is a multi-layered thing with us claiming to really develop the athlete.
Yeah.
You can use specific examples in the CrossFit like with.
I mean, Amanda's a perfect example of that. When she came to me, we did a 5-minute chest bar tester, and like, she got, I think it was like 53, maybe 63 or something like that. And last year she was inside of a games qualifying spot for almost all semifinals. So, it's like, we take an athlete like that who had been at previous organizations. Nobody saw kind of like the talent level that she had though, and nobody was willing to commit to her. And then, she comes over to us and, we can see what she's genuinely capable of, and we believe in her, and we instill that belief in her, and that just kind of fills in. When you instill that belief in somebody, that fills in so many of the holes that are needed, because that person's going to be diligent now to fill in those holes and like want to work on the things that they want to work on. And so like I think I don't know, it's a whole tangent, but I think step number 1 is just instilling belief in the athlete that they're capable of what they're genuinely capable of.
And we've talked about that a couple of times when we first attempted the first episode of the podcast, and then I think talked about it a little bit in this last one with Griffin. Yeah. But it's 100% true. And I would say that there's the surface level of creating that connection, essentially. And then below that, everything can be lip service, right? You just say it. Yeah. But
there's a different energy when you're saying it and you believe it.
You're saying it, believe it, and you fucking mean it. Right. I mean, words don't mean shit. Yeah. Right? They really don't. There's unless you are someone who values the meaning behind them. Right. Words don't have much gravity. They're sound waves.
Wait, do people value the meaning behind words?
I don't know.
Oh. Maybe that's why we're not popular here, because I don't give a fuck about what people say.
I mean, it's fair. Yeah. I mean, we can talk about that on another episode, not valuing what people say, because we obviously do. It just has to be in the appropriate context. And
your actions have to back up what you're saying.
Yeah. So this is where I would argue our actions, your actions, actually the four of us, honestly, Pat, Griffin, yourself, and me, I definitely value making sure people believe me. I'll go out of my way to make sure people believe me. I'm going to advocate for you. Right. I'm going to be on this journey with you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. An example I'll give is Yana. I was on the phone with Yana for almost 2 hours, which I'm pretty sure was over 2 hours, trying to get her to be on the Grid League team last season. Right. And it just made me want to pursue her more and more and more. Right. Platonically. So, I'm a married man. Disclaimer. So, and given the testimonials that have been coming out recently, it's fucking obvious. I don't know if I've seen as much retention with a company like this compared to yours. Yeah. Every single person I met 6 years ago that was with you is still with you.
Yeah.
Well, that I met.
Yeah,
specifically.
Right.
I know there's people that have come and gone.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, in some way, shape, or form, right?
Yeah, even if they've gone from you to like just training at their gym with their class for a little while, then they come back via the method.
Yeah,
or something else.
Yeah, I will say I think one of the markers of like a good coach and like a good product that you put out. This isn't always the case, but whether or not that individual, one, comes back to you or kind of like stays in your radar, and then two, like whether they go and get a second coach or another coach after you. And like personally, I haven't seen a ton of my athletes going out and getting other coaches. I'm kind of, for a lot of them, I am or was kind of the last athlete where they're kind of like floating around the community still, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of like, goes to show that like you're not going to do much better than us, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think Arnold Schwarzenegger said it in Pumping Iron, or I'm quoting it from something else. You can do exactly what I'm doing, you'll just never do it better than me.
Yeah.
That may be a paraphrase. It's something along those lines. Excuse me. But would you? I'm gonna hit on that for just a brief second when it comes to like, because it's important from the relationship standpoint. Mm-hmm. When an athlete comes to you and says, "I'm gonna go to this coach because they happen to be nearby, just to get their thoughts and opinions on a strategy I'm testing, a movement I'm testing."
This is like an athlete that I work with.
Yeah. Like, I'll phrase it this way: I'm of the belief that I don't care who I'm coaching. The more eyes that are on that athlete to improve their fitness, the better. And I'm not going to take it as an attack or as a threat that they're going to steal my athlete or my athlete is. I'm putting my athlete in quotes as well because I don't fucking own them.
Right.
I am putting our relationship on the line by allowing that to happen. That's not the case.
Right.
So I believe that the more eyes on the person, the more my relationship with that person is going to improve, and the better they're going to get, and then we just keep going from there. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing about CrossFit is like you have to. It's such an infant sport in the reality of things.
Yeah. And
like I remember starting coaching CrossFit back in the day, and like some collegiate swimmers were telling me, about like tapering, their tapers and stuff like that. They're like, I do a month-long taper, and I'm like, Rich Froning doesn't taper, so it doesn't fucking matter. That was like early on in coaching. Yeah. But then, like, as you start to kind of learn more, you start to see more, you start to realize, like, okay, there are genuine coaching principles that defy, or that you can't defy, right? Like, just because the sport's new and it's the sport of fitness doesn't mean that these principles don't apply to coaching. And I think one thing that CrossFit needs to do a better job of, and just in the organization in whole, and I think there are actually organizations that are starting to trend in this direction, but like if you look at the structure of an NFL team, an MLB team, a football team over in Europe, there's like the overseer, right, who's like the head coach. He probably has a general knowledge of like everything that's like really like a solid base. But then you have specialties inside of that. Like in football, you have a wide receivers coach, and you have a defensive backs coach, and you have an offensive line coach, and you have a defensive coordinator, and it's all just kind of like a trickle down effect of like micro detail to macro detail. But the macros don't necessarily negate the micro, and the micro doesn't necessarily negate the macro. And it ends up just being this one huge conglomerate of we're all trying to accomplish the same thing, and that is make these athletes as good as possible so that they can go on and achieve their goals and win, and we can also win with them. And it becomes so like I don't think that there's necessarily like trying to dissuade somebody from going and seeking extra help, especially like if you have like a fucking Olympic or a national level weightlifting coach that's you have access to in the vicinity of wherever it is you're training at. yeah, go fucking see them.
Use them.
Yeah, so you can get better at weightlifting.
Yeah.
But like, that's their expertise. Like, you come back to me and we're going to work on your performance aspect of things, right? And so like, there's definitely, I think, you shouldn't, shun athletes from going and doing that. But at the same time, like, I'm going to tell you if I think something's fucked up that
sure.
they're teaching you, and like, if I don't think it's going to transfer over to CrossFit specifically, I'll tell you that, and then you can make the decision of whether you want to go see that individual again or not, and or if you're finding value out of it. And like, I'm never going to tell you don't go see them, but I am going to tell you my thought process on what they might be doing for you and why it might or why it would transfer over into the sport.
And it's going to be like backed. The why is the most important thing you just said there.
Right.
You're not just going to say it to be an asshole. You're not just
Right.
going to say it because it might negatively impact your business.
Right.
You're going to say it because, like, hey, homie, I'm your friend too. Let's think this through, and
Right.
here's why.
Yeah.
So like, all of that essentially like hitting on the major psychological component. The chemistry itself is, I would strongly argue with Blacklisted, a massive determiner in development.
Yeah.
And we're really fucking good at it.
Right.
Now, from the physical development aspect of it, like,
with
the mental side, as we all know, the physical side develops. Would you say, Tristan, as a young buck?
Yeah.
You need to get him a microphone.
Tristan said yes. You should hear that.
That's true. Jamie, now from the physical development aspect, improving, why are we better there?
Yeah, I think the community that we've set up here is constructive to everybody's growth. And like, one of the things that we've been trying to solidify inside of the the Saturday sessions, the camps that we run, we're gonna end up having 2 teams down here this year that I think they'll both relatively be out of the same gym, but we've had 2 teams in the past before. And what we try and do is, we understand that competition is important, but we also understand that your weakest link is your strongest asset. And so we try and make sure that everybody's ceiling is being raised so that it's pushing everybody higher and higher. I think that a lot of the times people undervalue some of the quote-unquote lesser athletes of the community and just let them fall off by the wayside. And what ends up happening is you create this toxic environment of just ultra competition between every individual. And that's why you see camps breaking up for the most part every single year, and there's never like solid staples of the community, if that makes sense. And we've kind of, we've had athletes come and go, but for the most part over the last 3 years, we've had a pretty strong staple of kind of like the main athletes that are coming in and training with us for multiple years at a time. So, I think we do a good job of really facilitating, we're doing this together so that we can better ourselves as a whole, and that whole is going to achieve things greater than if you were to do something on your own. And I think that's what really drives a lot of our success inside of like competition, and not creating a toxic environment where everybody's just fucking trying to win for themselves. They're trying to win for something bigger than themselves, if that makes sense.
No, that makes complete sense. And winning for something bigger than themselves is subjectively defined, right? But I would argue that with the current community that's been established, is the bigger than themselves thing is obviously in my opinion, they have categorized it. The bigger thing for themselves is improving their health and performance, just period in general, for like I would say like playful bragging rights or this, that, and the other for the community. Like, and I would argue it could, with the majority, that's pretty 50-50. I would say a lot of the clientele that I'm exposed to here anyway, they are prioritizing the development for the community, and I'm placing you as like top tier for that, because a lot of them that I've spoken with anyway, they say, I want to get this right because I don't want to let Kyle down. Or in more of a positive realm, I want to get this right because Kyle believes in me, type of deal. And for themselves, it's like, I'll use Lexi, for example, with grid. She adores the sport, is, I won't say obsessed with it, but she might, so I'll say obsessed with grid, and she wants to really, really do well in it. So like, her personal performance is there to get better at high speed body weight elements, and then also carry over a little further into some of the utility aspects is a big aspect for her. Then you have individuals like Emma, who very annoyed with her shoulder and busts her ass to get it fixed. Right. And then same with Griffin with his shoulder, working with working with Lauren and Pete. I'm pretty sure all of them work with Lauren and Pete. Shout out. And that I'd say the community and the selfish side of it. And selfish sounds negative. What's a better word here?
Self-improvement.
That's better. Yes, the self-improvement aspect of it. It's really unique. I've never seen this before, but how much those two overlap within Blacklisted is insane to me. Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of it comes from just the leadership style that I saw that I wanted to have inside of the military, right?
Fair.
And, I was always involved in like small teams inside of the military. So like everything was very tight-knit and close group. And but if one person wasn't doing their job inside of that team and wasn't trying to get better at their job, the whole team failed, right?
Yeah.
And so like that's kind of like what I was raised on, and then two, kind of the leadership styles that I wanted to kind of embody and bring forth. So just looking at that observation is probably where that
comes a lot.
From. Yeah.
It's a very very opposite description of the leadership style and stuff that my wife experienced while in the army.
Well, I mean, I saw some shitty leadership in the military, and I was like, at least had the wherewithal to be like, don't be a fucking mouth-breathing idiot like that
guy. Take notes. So, I want to circle it back to like the physical development aspect. The psychological piece is so important, but so now from the new specifically when everybody really is like at the forefront of their mind, like I need to get physically better. Why are we better? Connecting it to the psychological piece, like the buy-in, right? That's obvious.
Right.
Like, you develop the relationship. Everything else we just talked about. That's 90% of the physical development. So why is that 10%? When do we bring that superior?
Yeah. I mean, I think one thing that we've done really well with is like we didn't just launch into whatever it was. Like we didn't just launch into a brand. We didn't go take our level 1 and then just launch into a brand, right? Like we spent time learning a lot from a lot of other people before we started our brand. And then we're still continuing to try and learn from other people so that we can make sure that the protocols that we're giving to our athletes, the things that we're doing for them, the recovery aspects, the training modalities, are tuned to exactly what they need for the sport and not necessarily what just kind of like a generic CrossFit program will give you. And that even trickles down into our competitors program method. Is like we have very dedicated cycles for specific things in the sport to get you better at the sport. And honestly, specifically better on a live competition floor. Not that we won't get you better at qualifiers and stuff like that, but our specialty really lies in being able to make you a fucking monster out on the competition floor. And ultimately, that's where like our goal is to like get you to the competition, and then you can express all your capacity at that competition. And I think just a lot of that comes from experience. I mean, I went to the games, Griff went to the games. Like we probably have the most experienced games level coaching staff out of a lot of the coaching companies out there, minus maybe Mayhem, right?
Sure. Yeah. I don't know many of them, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
That's more of an area of your expertise. So
Yeah.
I will agree by affiliation.
Yeah. So I think, one, having the experience is super helpful for that. And then two, just continuing to learn and you like learn and then talk to your athletes so you know what protocols to give them. Like it can't just be like
communication's huge.
Yeah, like somebody messaged me the other day about and this isn't a knock on functional bodybuilding, but they sent out an email with like, we have a dedicated year-long plan for you. And it's like, okay, that's cool for somebody who wants to be healthy, but when you're looking at a sport, especially like a sport of CrossFit, it's so fucking chaotic that you can't develop year-long plans for people.
Yeah.
You can have general ideas of what you want to do throughout the course of the year, like having an off season where you're, building a base foundation of everything, and that again, that looks different for everybody.
Yep.
But then once you get into like the fall time frame, you need to start having people go to competitions so they can start testing things, and you can see if one, what your training has been doing in the off season has been working, or two, if there's new biases presenting themselves in the sport that you need to start working on so that athlete isn't fucked when it comes to, quarterfinals, semifinals, whatever.
Yeah. You gotta hone in pullovers now.
Yeah, right. Right. Shout out to Myra.
Love you, Amanda.
So I think, and like, a lot of that comes from having the conversation with the athlete. Because, like, you could see somebody who sucks at, sucks is a relative term, high capacity workouts. And they're not, it looks like their face goes white 8 minutes into a 12-minute workout, and they just kind of like 1,000-yard stare. Mm-hmm. And you're like, okay, well, this person needs to train more aerobic endurance because they have a limitation with continuing holding high paces. So you're looking at aerobic endurance and aerobic power. Well, you start talking to them, they're like, yeah, I don't feel like I can breathe like 6 minutes into the workout, or I'm not bracing, or like this specific movement, like maybe it's thrusters and burpees and toes to bar or something like that. And they're like, yeah, I just didn't feel like I could breathe during any of those movements. And then you start looking, you start analyzing what their movement patterns look like, and you're like, oh yeah, you are fucking holding your breath throughout these entire things.
We can have that like backed up too. So, with what you just said there, a lot of people will say, well, how can you assume that, or how can you perceive that just based on watching me? Like, outside of like your background in the sport, the years have been, like, you don't have a doctorate, you don't have this, that, and the other. It's like, well, as we said earlier in the podcast, if you've made it this far, we have a connection with Kennesaw State University, and we just so happens that the professor, one of the big dudes there in the human performance area, is one of the very few professors in the country that puts out CrossFit-related research. Mm-hmm. So we have the capability to literally showcase that discrepancy.
Right. And I think too, like, with that, we'll probably end up developing like specific protocols to kind of see limitations and stuff like that. But at the same time, like limitations change throughout the course of an athlete's career, right? Yeah. And so like you might have somebody who is dying out at 8 minutes because their tissue tolerance is terrible in regards to the movements that were in that workout. And so now you put them through a crazy aerobic, like a crazy volume protocol, and then you start dosing in intensity, and you're like, you're marginally better, but I was expecting you to get a lot better. Like, what are you feeling now? Well, now all of a sudden they're starting to not be able to breathe, 6 minutes into the workout. And you're like, okay, well, now we have to get your breathing mechanics better. Mm-hmm. So we'll put you through a protocol through that. And it might be like, a 6-month period to get them better at that 12-minute workout. But we had to, and that came through conversations. We didn't just assume that the athlete needed more aerobic capacity work or, more just general volume work or whatever. We talked to them, we figured out what the issue was, and then we went back to the drawing board, readdressed, gave them specific protocols based off of their athlete profile. So maybe they're a more powerful athlete, maybe they're a more enduring athlete, gave them protocols based off of that. And then we retested, looked, saw that there's still still something going on there, talked to them again. Okay, now it's respiration protocols, give them now it's a respiratory limiter, give them the specific protocols needed for their athlete physiology. and then we retest again, and boom, they're better.
Yeah.
So like that's kind of like the process that we go down, and
it's extensive.
Yeah,
it's perfect. It's fucking perfect.
Right, but a lot of it involves conversations, and I think with some of the programs or protocols that we'll end up developing under KSU, it's going to be we can quick hit those things a little bit faster, so that because there is a little bit of an art form to it as well, right? Like you do have to kind of interpret what that athlete is saying, etc. But with some of the protocols that we'll be getting from KSU and developing from KSU, Dr. Mangine specifically, I think we'll be able to probably quick hit on those. But then it'll be our job again to continue
100%.
Figuring out
establishing the foundation, then progressing through the protocols.
Yep.
There's a new one, establishing another layer to build upon if it's necessary to get another. It's just saying that is just essentially pushing more like why we can claim we're going to develop you better.
Right.
And it's just an added piece. Then also like the secondary aspect is, and I'm sorry to always say it, but the swimming component just keeps proving. Now I'm hesitant to use the word proving because it's not backed yet, but it keeps showing positive progression.
Yeah.
When talking to everybody.
Right.
Because of the lack of proprioception, kinesthetic awareness in the water relative to land. You being forced to be hyper aware in the water more, which honestly, having tested a few of these things myself and with other former swimmers have less awareness than CrossFitters when in the water right now.
Okay.
Because we've gotten so used to getting away with shit.
Yeah.
To just move forward. So that additional component, institution, swimming, and then fucking everything else. Actually, it's not true. That's the final two. That's like a branch off, right?
Yeah.
Just the shorthand of additional pieces as to why Blacklisted, Kyle Spears can claim we're going to develop better.
Blacklisted.
Fair enough, Blacklisted. So, like final thoughts of the development piece. A lot of people want to develop quickly.
Yeah, that's true.
Why are we superior even to that?
I mean, there's no shortcuts in life, right?
Right.
Like, there's no magic pill. Well, I guess there is magic pills that give you weight loss now, but they come.
They are?
What's that called? Yeah, there's some shot. I think it's a shot that you get that's like literally.
Oh,
I
yeah.
can't remember what it is. But at the same time, like
HCG?
HGH? Testosterone.
I think it's HCG. I don't remember. I do remember when that first came out. It's fucking terrible.
Yeah. But like we don't. There's a classic saying in I think the science community that like there's no free lunch. So like whatever you're doing to yourself with that shot, there's going to be negative repercussions from that at some point in time, in my opinion. Obviously, like there just needs to be more research that comes out on that. But there's no shortcuts, and there's no and the fact that there are no shortcuts is the lessons that you're going to learn. And this is my brain going everywhere right now, but to bring it back to kind of like going out on the competition floor and competing on the competition floor, we don't take shortcuts with your training so that when you go out onto the competition floor, you will be better prepared than somebody who's gone through a year of just destroying their body and then is nervous as shit when they get out on the competition
floor. They don't trust what they've been doing because they're just constantly tired.
Yep. We make sure that when you go out on the competition floor, you're ready to go out on the competition floor from all aspects of competing, mentally, physically, emotionally. We make sure that you're ready to handle that. And like if you're just looking for a quick development, it's not gonna I understand that there's anomalies to everything, but if you take a look at some of those people who are coming in 1 to 2 years, they have a background of some sort of competition, right?
Sure, yeah.
So they have developed over a long period of time. Yeah. Nobody is really coming in with 1 to 2 years experience anymore and going to the games.
Right.
And so, people who want it now,
it's impossible.
People who want it now, you have to start looking at it as a long-term approach, and it's not going to be a 1 to 2 year thing. It's going to be a 3 to 6 year thing for you to get to that point. And I think we do a good job of getting athletes to buy into that.
Yes.
And understanding that for example, Tristan this year is going to be going team, and he's going to get, we were talking about this out in the parking lot, he's going to get so much valuable experience in regards to how the competitions run, competing against games level athletes, competing at a high level at a semifinal, obviously knock on wood, at a semifinal level this year, that's going to allow him to just be that much more prepared when he goes out on the competition floor as an individual athlete. And that's kind of the same thing we did with Amanda. Is Amanda spent 2 years on teams, very close each year, and when she went to semifinals this last year, she wasn't shell shocked or starstruck when she went in and competed with a lot of these literally games level athletes for 2 days straight. She was competing with, right?
And beating,
and she wasn't shying away from that opportunity or that experience. Like, she was ready for that because of the development that we did the previous 2 years.
Yeah, so I'm glad you hit on that piece, and we can shut it down soon after this, because no one joins. Well, a lot of people join with the mindset thinking that I should develop quickly. It's a perfectly acceptable mindset, but it will change, and I would personally argue that we're really good at doing that. We're really good at getting athletes' mindsets to change, to go from like, I need to develop quickly, to I need to accept the development is longer term, because this is just reality. And also between individuals like Lauren, RPR, and Pete here at Hybrid Spine the Sport. Sorry, Pete, got the name for a second. Whoops. 2 additional people to help identify discrepancies, unilateral discrepancies, injury, tweak, etc., to work with it. But oh shit, this actually does take a while to develop, because A, B, C, and D, maybe even X, Y, and Z. So in us showcasing like a supportive cast, a supportive community, it's not like, hey, no, it's not actually going to take 12 weeks, dipshit. It's going to take 5 years. We don't do that. We say, hey, that's an awesome fucking mindset to have. Like, let's get after it. And then it's not a tactful type of identification. Like, it's very direct. But it's helping them through the realization, because they're going to have to cope with it. It's going to be, they're going to experience grief associated with it. Nobody wants to be told no, right? Exactly.
And look, I'm not here to tell you no either, but I am here to be like, based off of the experience that I've had, it's going to take this long, right? But I'm not ever going to tell anybody, no, what you want to accomplish is impossible.
That's irresponsible.
I mean, you don't
say that.
You don't fucking know. Like,
it's inappropriate to say that, right?
Right.
I mean, hell, an asteroid could hit Earth next week anyway. I didn't mean to put in Murphy's Law there. My bad. Shit. So, would you say, like, in 1 to 2 sentences, taking all that into consideration, we can claim we develop best because of...
I mean, just because of what we're trying to set up here in general. I mean, it's still a work in progress, but like, I think the athletes that we have here right now, the coaches that we have here right now, the connections and the network that we've built is all geared towards, it's geared towards the athlete. It's not geared towards a celebrity, if that makes sense.
Perfect.
And I think we're here for the athlete and make sure that the athlete is better every single day. And we're not here to get Instagram likes or social media likes or put on a face. Like, we want the athlete to be able to do that, but we want to be able to make sure that we're helping the athlete along that journey in that process.
Yeah, that's fucking perfect. That's well done.
There's a paragraph.
No, it was 2 run-on sentences.
Cool. I'm good at run-on sentences. I found that out in 4th grade when my teacher highlighted a whole page and was like, terrible run-on sentence. I'm like, fuck you, I have dyslexia.
Oh, shit. So, to close, 6 words from Jocko. Stay vigilant. Stay on the path.
I think that's more than 6.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I can't count either. Awesome. Well, thanks for listening, guys. If you're still listening, we have a couple things coming up here. Camp at the end of the month. We are releasing a new product at the end of the month as well. We're combining all of our products and we are including two things in that package. We're going to have a 60-minute workout session. And then we are also going to be teaming up with Krista Roberts from Align Athletics to provide a gymnastics focused skill development program as well. So be on the lookout for those things, guys. Be on the lookout for our camp. Please sign up. and we'll catch you guys next time here.
Yeah. Peace.